All right, so anyone that talks to us about horror films or watches some of our reviews knows we love the shit out of the original Haunting, the black and white Robert Wise
1963, not 1999.
No, yeah, the actual.
We do not party like it's 1999 here.
No, and we are obsessed with it. We watch it every Halloween.
We just showed it to Tamara.
Yeah, it's probably our favorite horror film. It's hard to think of one like actually better.
As a psychological horror film, it's not.
No, it's not bloody or
it's not
gory
a graphic
like
movie.
That. Yeah, no, by any means. But even if you're not scared by it, which there's many people that aren't, just the psychology around it is just amazing. It's incredible characters. It's a gothic story. It's so phenomenal. You can tell this by when we reviewed the remake and so forth, so we got really excited.
Fan.
No, we got really excited when we heard there was a show done by the guy who did Oculus and Gerald's Game and Ouija 2, surprisingly.
I was more cautiously optimistic, just because when I heard it was like 10 episodes, I'm like, Jesus, like the original movie's like 2.5, and it's a short book.
Well, and then
like, what are they gonna do for 10 episodes?
And then we got the trailer. Yeah. And
we're like, this isn't The Haunting. I don't know
I showed it to you. I'm like, well, this looks good, but does this look like The Haunting to you?
And I'm like, I'll keep an open mind. But yeah, I was in the similar boat of like, I don't know what to make of that trailer. Like, you know.
So this is getting a lot of people are talking about this show. And it just as kind of like a horror fan of this kind of stuff that's a little bit more psychological, a little bit more what you don't see, but they also show ghosts too. And just because we love The Haunting, I figure it'd be good to just give our thoughts on the show. We've seen the whole thing, and I'm trying to even think. Well, let's start off.
How do we do this?
Let's start off spoiler-free. Which probably won't be long. We'll give our initial thoughts and then we'll go into spoilers because this really is one.
Do we say overall first what we thought? Or?
I'll say overall, yeah.
Okay, so if people ask me, there's this great line in The Simpsons, and I forget what spawned it, but I believe it's Reverend Lovejoy. Somebody's either asking him if God is real, or if they're going to heaven, or if someone else is going to heaven. I think it's like,
is God, am I doing wrong against God?
Am I doing wrong against it? And basically Reverend Lovejoy has this great answer, which was, well, yes with an if, no with a but. And
long answer, yes with an if, short answer, no with a but.
Yeah, so my answer is the show good, worth watching? Long answer, yes with an if. Short answer, no with a but. I don't know if you want to go off that or like...
Oh, sure. I mean, okay, especially as scary shows work, I mean, top of my head, I can't even think of a scary show I've ever seen, honestly. No. Like, legit scared me, and
I'd have to go back to being a kid, in which case Stephen King's It, the original one with Tim Curry, did a bit, but I was like 11, I think, when that came out.
Yeah, it had to be like maybe 1 or 2 X-Files. Unsolved Mystery scared me. I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah, because that shit's mostly real. Yeah. And America's Most Wanted.
Yeah, so that scared me.
The reenactments, fiction, I was afraid to open the door.
Intended fiction. I can't think of a show that actually scared me. And this is the first show I can think of that legit did. And not disturbed, not made uncomfortable, because there's plenty of shows that did that, but scared me.
Though this did both. I was very disturbed as well.
But it took its time. It starts off a little clumsy, and kind of
takes its time for 10 episodes. Yeah. I'm not gonna dock it that much really for that.
Yeah, and it took us a while to get into the idea that this is The Haunting, kind of in the same vein Bates Motel is Psycho.
Yeah, it's like we can't. I think it's brilliant in retrospect. They were like, we can't remake the 1963 film. Lightning doesn't strike twice. So here's our riff on The Haunting. Like, the Bates Motel is their riff on Psycho.
It's very much the themes and ideas. Everything else is very loose. Like, all the characters are one family, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, that gives you an idea.
Similar names and stuff. But this is like, I told Tamara, because I had gotten mostly through the series, and she was going to watch the original with us, and she's like, well, should I wait? And I'm like, yes. It's much better, if you want to see both, it's much better to see the movie first, because you can see what they're doing. And there's all these nods and little Easter eggs in the way they retool some of the characters and use the same names and a cameo that I thought was really kind of brilliant. So it's definitely, if you want to see both, I would actually see the movie first so you can look at the show and see, okay, now I see where they're going. I don't think it works as well the other way around. I think if you see the show first, you might look at the movie like, huh. But the other way around, I actually thought it was pretty brilliant.
Yeah, well, you still can. I mean, I'm sure people that have
I don't
seen
think
the
it's as
show will
fun,
go
though.
see the movie.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's a better way to do it. It's kind of like if you're going to watch Star Wars, you know, screw the prequels anyway, but it's like, if you're going to watch it, see the original 3 and then see the prequels. It's like everyone else did.
Or see the original 3, then Force Awakens and Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And then spend the rest of your days on the internet complaining about it.
But yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like the psychology is great. The effects are decent-ish. They look very fake, but they're
hit and
ghosts.
miss. When
they
they're
are
hit,
ghosts.
they're really hit.
Yeah.
And when they're missed, I'm just kind of like, Jesus, this is like better than the 99 Haunting, but not by a whole lot.
And it's one of those shows where the more you stick with it, it gets more and more disturbing, more and more uncomfortable, more and more weirdly real in some aspect,
and
just
it
in
hits
terms of the characters.
a high water mark right in the middle.
Yeah,
5
and
and
6.
6.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're on the fence about it, get to episode 5. If after episode 5 you're like, this does nothing for me, then leave.
I'd still say 6, because 6 is still amazing.
maybe, but I feel like those two, it's like, if after episode 6 you're like, I don't get it, leave.
Yeah.
Because I think 5 and 6 are basically just the high water mark of the entire series.
So it's kind of, it gets really great there, but even after that, it's still really good. And then, Christ, like so many things, the ending just fucks everything up, sadly.
And that's where the yes with an if, no with a but comes in.
Yeah, where it just goes, it seems like almost 100% against what the show was doing the whole time.
It literally...
The style is different, the writing is different, the dialogue's different, the characters are different.
I can think of no better way to put it than this show manages to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Like, that's what it does. I'm like, you had victory, and then somehow you snatched defeat from that.
Yeah, so
we'll get into that.
So that's our general thought. I say see it. I say it's worth checking out. It does have ghosts that you actually see, so it's not like the original Haunting if you didn't like that about it, but it does have the psychology, which is very, very good as well.
I'd say watch the first 9 episodes, make up an ending in your own head and go, that's how it should end, and then watch the other one and consider that the clue ending. That's how it could have happened. This is how it really happened.
No, it's the fan fiction ending. Let's be honest. That's really what it is.
Because it's like, if you can get over the fact that the ending is, and I hate using this word, but I'm going to pull it out, garbage. If you can
One of these days, someone's gonna do a supercut of all the times you say garbage.
I think I'm probably up to 5. I'm like, I think 5 times where I'm just like, no, that pissed me off so much, I'm gonna say garbage. But
you say garbage like all the time. That's like your favorite word to use.
Word.
Yeah,
Trash. I'll tell you why. Because trash sounds like more fun. When I think trashy, I think ooh,
like a trashy movie. But garbage.
Garbage or flaming dumpster fire. If you can get over the fact that the ending is a flaming dumpster fire, then yeah, sure, watch it. Like, because I mean, there's so much great stuff going into that final episode. But I just want to warn people, like, don't watch the final episode. Just whatever you think is going to happen in your head's probably better.
And that seems to be the way everyone kind of agrees. I haven't really seen...
I have not seen a person yet who's just like, I loved the ending. What's your problem? Everybody's just like, they either just like, this ending sucks, or they're apologists for it. Like, yeah, it really didn't end as well as it could have, but I like it. Like, you know, I've never seen anybody go, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, like, nailed it, got it!
And I've
like...
known a dozen people so far have reported in on me, like, their thoughts. So out of 12 people, I've got 0 who are just like, I liked that ending. It's either an apology of like, yeah, it wasn't really that great, but I still like it overall, or that was awful.
So... that's our initial thoughts. I mean, I really highly recommend it.
I will say what it does best is the old Exorcist 3 trick, which is it knows how to set up. To the point that sometimes I don't feel there's enough of a payoff every once in a while where it'll rely on like CGI, where I'm like, no, don't.
But you're constantly on edge.
But it does this thing, where at first I didn't like the jump scares, because jump scares to me...
a lot of them are kind of bad,
to me it's like the lowest,
it's
like the lowest form of art, where it's just like, you just, boo! Like, okay, so for 1 second you're scared, but then after that you're like, haha.
It doesn't stay with you.
Yeah, it doesn't really stay with you, and yet, somewhere in episode 2... There's like a funeral scene, and one of the characters is like dressing up the body and putting the makeup on. It's a close-up of the corpse's face. And like, I was waiting for it.
I think it was later than 2. But
Maybe it was later than 2, but I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and I realized that whether or not there was a jump scare from this or not, the amount of time spent waiting, and I won't give it away, but the amount of time spent waiting, one way or another, for a payoff that may or may not come, I was on edge the entire time. I was sitting on my couch just nervously like gripping the seat, like, something's gonna happen, something's gonna happen, and it hit me then and there that as much as the jump scares are occasionally cheap, they did their fucking job. Because I'm just like, that's well done. Versus other ones where so many of the jump scares, I will say this, when the jump scares happen, with rare exception, they're real jump scares. What I hate the most, loud telephone ring! Oh, it's just the telephone. Like, that kind of, like, I hate that.
Okay, no, here's the new one, and this is what this guy is doing to it. Every horror director is doing this, so I can't be, like, too angry, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this has officially become a jump scare. And you can see it in the opening, so, like, you know, I think the kids are awake, and I think the father's, like, trying to calm him down, and he leaves, and it's starting to track in on the door, and then suddenly, you just hear... Oh, me just getting in bed, but they magnify that, him hitting the bed, that sound like boom! Like it's the loudest person getting in bed, and so that's what they'll do. They'll have a normal, everyday thing, but they'll just turn it up and have it come up very fast.
As lame as that was, and that was 100% lame, I think I could count on my one hand the number of times the entire 10 episodes did that, where it's like, no, it's a pointless loud noise. Every other jump scare, it's a ghost. Like, it's something legit where it's like, no, that was a legit scary thing that did that. It wasn't just like, I'm hopping into bed really loudly to scare you. Like,
you know what bothers me about that? Because they're trying to act like it's not a jump scare. Like, well, we didn't try to scare you. We're just showing a guy getting in bed. Bullshit.
What's the worry about that?
That is a jump scare.
And it's a super cheap trick. And honestly, until the ending, I would have thought that director was better than that. Which is what bothers me. It's what bothers me about the show as a whole, which is this director so gets it that to see him do cheap shit like that, or cuts that go on too long, or effects that don't work, I'm like, you're better than this. And you've got to know you're better than this because you're doing this so well, and it's like, I can't tell if he doesn't have faith in his own abilities, or if he just assumes we're all idiots. And that if he doesn't have some loud noise or something to get our attention again, we're all gonna be like, this ain't scary, and turn it off. In any case, it's a lack of faith in either us or him. And it sucks, because he's so good at everything else in this.
Well, here's the other thing, too, is that part of me almost thought, well, maybe, like, Netflix or the people making it, producers or whatever, said, no, you gotta... Yeah, but here's the thing. Netflix, as far as I can see, doesn't usually do that. They'll let creepy, dark, disturbing stuff just play out in their shows and their movies. So I don't know if that would be it. It doesn't sound like it would be.
He understands all of that, and the one thing he understood most of all is, like, because anybody who's had a sudden death in their family, there's, like, this aura of, like, surreal gloom, of, like, shock. It's like shock and awe. You're just completely just, like you just got punched in the face, like, what? And you wander around, and...
Spoiler, somebody dies in there. I think people can assume that.
Yeah, like, well, it's a horror thing. Like, the trailers give
it's a haunted,
and, like, as, like, we both went through that, and it captures that weird waking nightmare realm. You just walk around like a zombie for a few weeks, like, not knowing what reality you're even in, the sense of gloom, that now we have to do this, what do we do with the body? What do we do with this? And there's a funeral arrangements, and then you've got a wake, you've got a funeral, you got all these things, and then when you look back on it, it's like you hardly even remember it. Like, it's just this weird daze, and it gets that sense of, like, huge depression. Like, I have never seen a show so capture the amount of gloom something that, like, does to a person's psyche. And he completely gets it. I've never, like, as a metaphor for depression or a sudden death in the family and all the weird things your mind goes through.
And stuff like that,
the guilt, the denial, the way families, like, bicker at each other and snipe at each other, the stress you go through, like, Jesus, he nailed it to the point that it's, like, it was hard for me to watch. Like, I don't want to use the word, like, triggering, like, triggered, but if you've ever gone through something like that, it really just, like, send you right back to that kind of, like, quasi PTSD of like, Jesus Christ, like now it's all coming back, like the shit I remember. It's like, ugh, like that's a huge accomplishment and probably one of the best things he did in this.
Well, and what I like too is that they cut back and forth between them being kids and them being adults. And even if they didn't do that, the acting and the writing is so good in this that I feel like you get their connection. You know what they're like. Because they're actually very different as kids, honestly, than they are adults anyway. So even seeing that...
Well, you could tell the effect that they're... It's very Stephen King. This, honestly, this owes much more, in my opinion, to Stephen King than to Shirley Jackson. It gets a lot of the Shirley Jackson bits right. Like, it has a lot of the same themes, but, like, it's almost like he wanted to make a Stephen King movie right. And until the ending, did it.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is a better version of Stephen King's It or The Shining than we've gotten in any iteration. Like, in the last Shining, or the last It was, like, funhouse fun. But it was kind of like dark funhouse, like, you know, you got the clown running around. This is just gloomy and depressing and spooky and disturbing and fucking relentless with it. It never lets up. Like, at the end of episode 6, I was binging it. Like, 3 episodes at a time. I'm just like, I like put the controller down. I'm like, I need a break. I gotta go outside. I gotta get some sunshine. I gotta watch some motherfucking cartoons. Because, like, this is, like, just playing with my mind. Like, so I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
1408 was one of the few movies I thought, it actually this one reminded me a lot of 1408, which is a King story. And it's the same thing where it's mostly one room. There's not really too many monsters. It's more what's in this guy's head and connected with the past and not know where you are and stuff like that and loss and things like that. So it's one of those things where it's like when he said that, I'm like, yeah, so Flanks remind me a lot of 1408.
I gotta see that movie. I will say this.
It's very good.
Outside of that one, I think this is and I know it's not Stephen King technically, but this is the darkest Stephen King thing I've seen and the most tragic, probably outside of Pet Sematary, which I think is his freaking scariest.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, no, this is just relentless. This is dark. I think Stephen King said he didn't even think it would get published because he thought it was so dark. And he was like, maybe I should have a happier ending. And it's like, this is in that same realm of just like, this is what Stephen King would be if like, you really just turned everything up to 11 and like pulled out all the stops. And like, I think it's brilliant. I kind of want, and I know Gerald's Game's really good too. That's another King. Like, I kind of hope this guy becomes a Stephen King adapter.
I would love if he kept doing King.
I would kill, I will say this, I would kill to see this guy's version of The Shining, but we just got it. It's The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
Like, it's very much more Shining in many ways, in some ways, than The Haunting, which, I mean, Stephen King ripped off Shirley Jackson too. He quoted The Haunting, I think, in Salem's Lot. So I guess this has gone full circle, which is fine. I'm not blaming King for it. It's like you rip off the masters and you pay tribute. And so this has gone like by 3 ways now. Shirley Jackson to King to this guy. What is this guy's name?
Mike, don't do that to me, because I always say
sorry.
the guy who directed Akira. I think it's Mike Flanagan, but I could be wrong. Just IMDb it, I'm probably wrong, but I think that's his name.
I'm not a horror expert, but I will say this. I'm going to look it up after this, because this is a name now I'm going to frickin'
It's always a name, I try to remember it, then I forget it.
Because like, what? There's so many directors out there that occasionally I just read. This is one that I'm like, no, this is entering my brain, is if I see this guy's name on something, good or bad, no matter what I think of the ending to this, I'm like, I gotta see what his next film's gonna be.
No,
like, I can't wait.
I think there's like one, I think it's like his first film or whatever that I haven't seen. I've seen all those others, because I just love this guy.
And then the characters, like, the biggest shock to me was, I thought, because this is always the failing of, well, they're never as good as the book, they are on par with the book, and I mean, it's not the world's greatest accomplishment because you got 10 hours to flush it out versus a 2.5-hour film, but the fact that he didn't go for cheap, I thought is kind of an accomplishment, because I thought they fleshed out a lot of the characters, particularly Theo. Nell, to me, is a lateral move. It's a little different, but I'm like, it's about on par with the Nell in the original movie. But Theo in particular and Luke, I thought were both way more fleshed out in this. They have a backstory. You can see where they're coming from.
I like Shirley a lot. well, I guess she's not in the original.
Yeah, Shirley wasn't in the
original.
author. The only one that doesn't feel as fleshed out to me is their version of Dr. Markaway, and this is Steve.
That's
and he was
kind
the
of the weak link character, but he's not awful. He's not awful. Not that interesting.
But yeah, Theo and Luke in particular, because like that's always an issue some people like to bring up with the original film, is that Theo is a lesbian, but she's kind of a predatory character, and people are like, well, we can't like the film, but it's like 1963. fact that you got a lesbian in that movie at all is
I always,
amazing. And they're all terrible. Like, my problem is they're all terrible characters in the original. They're four people that should never be put in a haunted house together.
See, to me, there's a reason she is kind of like predatory too. Is that I'm forgetting. Eleanor does have like this connection with her, this friendship, maybe even kind of this romantic. Like you don't know what's going on in her head always. No, but I'm also saying that like and then they have to share a room when she has this. Idea that maybe she is and stuff, and they're always together, like they're always hugging when shit is going on. It's just even more uncomfortable. This person may want you, and you don't necessarily want them, or do you?
It's a really bad combo of Nell is really naive and like a toddler, basically, just impetuous, has these delusional fantasies, I know what I want and this and that, and is all over the place. And that's not a good combo for Theo, who probably thinks, well, I can fix her, I can, do this. But at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, Theo, come on, you gotta know this about Nell, that this is some poor girl that's been completely sheltered, and you can't you're in the position of power here.
Well, and all of them, like you said, had terrible qualities about them.
Yeah, and
as good as even Markway is, like, has got some bad, he's like, people died, marvelous. He's looking for shit to happen.
Homosexual to be a predatory character. You could be straight, gay, bi, whatever. People like that exist. It's like, well, I can't watch a movie because the gay character is kind of predatory, and that just didn't play well in 1963 because it fed into a stereotype. It's like, yes, but it was also 1963, and as a character study, it is interesting. I think the movie's failure is that Theo never got fleshed out in what made Theo Theo. She kind of shows up, I think it's implied in the 63 version that she was in the middle of a breakup. That's about it. Like, you don't get a whole lot. And in this one, it's a similar character. Like, she very much is like just one night stand with any girl that shows up, it seems. But it gives you the whole reason. Like, it basically tells you how she ended up at this point, where she likes to close people off or just get what she wants and then bolt, and why she doesn't make an emotional connection with anybody, how her psychic kind of powers feed into that. I was really surprised. It's like they took great care into it. Way more than I thought in the original film, where it might not have even been on their radar. It's 1963, and they got 4 characters and 2 hours to do this. It's like, here you go. And it's not like we can just run around and keep saying she's a lesbian, because God knows it's 1963, and whoo, how dare you? Like,
One of the, I'll say this before
the children!
I'll say this before we get into spoilers. Because I don't think it really spoils anything, but there's one episode, and you're all gonna know, if you've seen it, you'll know which one it is, where it's not all done in one shot, but there's very few cuts in it. And there's a lot of directors who like to show off that they can do something in one shot. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of reasons to do something in one shot. But it does get a little gimmicky after a while. And what I realized with this one is that I feel like this one could have sort of brought it to a new level, because a lot of this episode just takes place in a funeral home, and it's just people interacting off each other, and it feels like a play, and I mean that in the best sense, where you feel like you're in the room with them, and the tension just builds so much more when you feel you're one of the people witnessing this and participating. And that's what
was messing with my head, where I was like, this feels like things I've gone through at funerals, and I'm just like, ugh, I am not having fun reliving this shit.
And it ups the scares as well, because there's 2 kind of major scares that kind of like got us in this. One has to deal with buttons. Again, we won't give it away. But then another is just a light going off. I mean, talk about the most unscary thing, cliche, you could do, but when it happens,
dead body in the room, I don't know.
But the tension is so great and rising, and sometimes there's something in the background, sometimes there's not. Watch the background of the show, by the way. There's a lot of stuff going on.
He spotted things that I missed. He's like, there's a statue that moves. I'm like, I never saw it. Yeah, and that's brilliant.
If I missed, the head is turned.
I missed it, that's good, because that means you could watch it again and be like,
and they don't do the chun. There's like a lot of stuff in the background, so watch the background. And that episode has a few of them too. But like the biggest scare is they're all yelling, and it's great. And then just the light goes off, and just like, I was watching my wife, and we both went, oh shit. Like, it's just a light going off. But it's like, you are so in that room, and you're so with these people, and it's so uncomfortable, and the tension, and it's just amazing how something so simple as that. I mean, like, that's the haunting to me.
The buttons bit was actually my favorite scare. You didn't see anything.
There's no chun, there's no loud
But the idea is whether somebody did it or whether a ghost did it, it's really creepy and disturbing either way. Like, it's just very unsettling. There is no out. And that's what this
There's no, it's just blank. Either way, it's scary.
Yeah, because like if somebody did it, how fucking twisted and disturbing is that? Like that is messed up. And that's what this show really does. Visually speaking, there is no, I don't know the word I want to use, safe space, I guess? You know how horror films, there'll be like kind of a safe space where they go for classic things like the corner. There's the dark corner. Ooh, someone's gonna be there. There's the locked door. Someone's gonna be behind there.
In Exorcist, the room.
Yeah, and then when you turn off Netflix and then you go to your bedroom or whatever, it's like, well, there's just the dark corners you don't look into, or you don't look in the closet, or you're fine. This one, there's a character in bed or on a couch, opens their eyes, and something's staring at them from the ceiling. It removed one of the last, like, visual safe spaces. Like, that's when you're going to fucking sleep.
Yeah.
And, like, that is...
Open your eyes, it can be there.
And when you open your eyes, it's right there. I'm like, that's amazing. That's terrifying. Like, because it removes all of those places that you think, oh, you're okay. Even when you're, like... I've heard reports of people who's just like, I can't sleep now because of this damn thing. It's like, I didn't have that problem.
Oh, and it so brilliantly ties it into sleep paralysis, too.
Oh, yeah, the whole sleep paralysis thing.
That's so genius.
Yeah, like, I didn't have problems getting to sleep. But it definitely, the gloom of it, definitely, it was like watching Grave of the Fireflies. I just felt like I'm just in a funk for a few days afterwards. I'm just like, God, it's just depressing. Like, but I mean, that's good if it can do that. Like, it has a real emotional effect.
Yeah. So we should, well, I said we were going to probably talk shortly without spoiler, but we went a while, so let's just jump into spoilers now. So you get the gist of what we liked about it and what we don't like about it. So now we got to go into spoilers.
Do you want to start with the things we did like that are spoilers? Like,
oh, I feel like we kind of talked about them. I mean,
will say that episode 5.
The ending of 5, what it
I figured it out, I think near the end of 4.
I didn't figure it out. So
I figured out what they were doing. I didn't know how they were going to do it, but I started to put it together. And that's not a problem, because if you execute something really well, I don't care if you can predict it. But I think for most people it might be a twist, but the idea that she's haunting herself is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in anything ever in a horror, because it sets up that she's been haunted by this thing and she can't get away. She goes to the house, and the brilliance of that scene too, of whether she's consciously trying to kill herself or whether a ghost or the ghost of her mother or whatever is making her do it. It's super creepy either way, and you never quite know what exactly is going on. But the idea that it's just like, well, this is it. She hangs herself, and the idea that it's over, like one way or another, release, and then that awful realization when she sees all of the members of her family. And then she sees her face, and now you know the significance of no.
Well, okay, that was creepy enough hearing that no.
But then when you see the significance of it.
Well, and then on top of that, just the image, the idea of being that person seeing all that is terrifying. And then just the image of her being bent like that, you know, with the neck and everything, but still looking around like she's still alive, I'm like she feeling the pain and everything and not knowing what's coming next. So fucking horrifying.
That is as close to a definition of hell as I can think of. I turned it off. I'm just like, oh my God, I need a minute, and like a stiff drink, because I'm just like, that is the most nightmarish thing I can think of. And then when she's sitting there like, and nobody heard me, and here I am, and I'm just like, this is hell. This must be what hell is like.
At the end of 6, where she's, that's a creepy idea too, where you just kind of disappear and nobody sees you.
And what a creepy...
And you're going, I'm here, and nobody sees you.
What makes it brilliant is it's such a great metaphor for depression. Yeah. Like, where it's like, I'm suffering on the inside. It's because, like, depressive people will hide things and you'll never know. You know, but it's like, but nobody heard me, or you might think you're trying to, and maybe people are ignoring
and
the
even then, they turn off the phone and they didn't pay attention.
Yeah, it's like, it's such a great metaphor for that. And I'm just like, wow, this all tied together brilliantly. And I'm just like, that's just one of the most primordial conceptions of like just hell in the afterlife, where it's like, and now you just get to relive it, and you're the ghost, and you're haunting yourself, so there was no escape at all. You're now fucking trapped. I thought that was brilliant. the way they reinterpreted some things were like the knocking on the funeral home instead of the knocking in the house, doing it at the
I couldn't believe how well that worked.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
and
we love that scene in the original Haunting, and we're just like, well, how could you redo that?
Is it ghosts or is it just kids? Like, it still seems a little nebulous.
But
like
the sound of it, too, was so good. And things are kind of shaking, too, and just the timing of the hits and everything. I was like, I couldn't believe how effective that was.
One of the worst scenes in the whole thing when Mr. Crane walks in and sees Nell as a little girl in the coffin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. That was the point where I'm just... Yeah, I literally am just like, all right, where's the razor blades? I'm just like, this is just... Jesus.
Yeah.
And again, they're great visual metaphors. Like, what parent who's had to bury their child, whether they're an adult or not, hasn't felt like that? It's just awful. It's, as I said, it captures that nightmarish quality of like when a sudden death happens and your brain's just like...
And again, from a technical level, so much of that was done in one shot that when he's walking towards the casket, it's creepy because the person you saw before isn't in there. It takes a second for you to see who's in there because it's slowly going up to it. Same thing with the buttons. And then when you see the kid, that is both like, oh, it's creepy because somebody didn't think it was going to be in there. It's a kid, and it's his interpretation of who's in there as a child. And it's just, so it just hits you on so many painful levels.
I know everybody's like, the jump scares and the scene in the car with Nell going, that boo. Like, it's good, but the buttons was my favorite because, like, just hearing that shout from Cheryl in there.
And that build-up.
And then when you see the buttons, which is super creepy, and then it's like, who did this? And you realize that no matter what, either answer's bad. Either one of the family members did it, in which case, Jesus Christ, fuck is wrong with you? And that's bad and super creepy, or a ghost did it, the ghost of the mother did it, and then when the lights go off and that corpse with the buttons is just there, and then when the coffin tips over, like just everything about that episode was just super creepy.
Well, it always builds on so much of the scares, which I liked. Even, I'll argue the jump scares. It builds on...
Again, I'm not saying they're awful. I'm just saying
but it builds on their emotion. Like every single time something happens, it feels like, well, yeah, that reflects what they're going through.
The jump
which
scare,
again is what the haunting is.
Yeah, the jump scare with Nell in the car worked because I think she was trying to get their attention.
Well, it feels like an explosion of them yelling at each other,
and it's a family drama. I feel like that was Nell, like stop arguing. Like that was what I got out of it. Kind of like it's to snap them out of this, like, nonsense of...
Here's... Because that scene reminded me of something. Something else this show does surprisingly well that I usually hate in both movies and shows, but I can't believe how many times they got away with it and it really worked until the ending, is that they give... So many of these characters have monologues. They're not speeches, they're monologues. And they go on for a long time.
For the most part, they were.
Yeah, because...
Occasionally I was like...
But because the writing is so good and the acting is so good, you really listen. And they go on what seems like the perfect amount of time for them to get out what they need to get out, because you feel in this whole show, it's building up.
That was Steve's best moment, too. The one moment where I thought... that character came out and he's like, Dad, it's called mental illness.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like, that's what a good horror story does. It's like, maybe he's right.
Yeah.
Like, we're all kind of seeing this through their points of view. Maybe they're just seeing shit because they're all nuts. Like, who knows? Like, and he says, like, she went off her meds and, this is what happens. And until the end, it remains pretty open-ended. The Mrs. Crane, that is what Jack Torrance should have been. She's this nice... sympathetic character who goes mad. And like, I was really wrapped up in it, and I'm just like, this is a better version of Shining than any version of Shining. I thought, was it Steven Weber in the miniseries? I thought he was more sympathetic, but I didn't find it very scary.
No.
This one was way more tragic to watch. And when she bashes the mirror, and you got to see it from, was it Theo's point of view, where she just is seeing,
Steve's point of view.
Whoever it was, when she bashes the mirror, and from the poor kid's point of view, it's like, Mom's gone crazy. Like, all the kids, you can see they're just like, Mom's going crazy. Like, and this poor woman, and the whole thing with the flapper, I thought was more interesting than anything in The Shining with the butler, like, you must correct them. I thought her speech about, like, no, you just gotta wake them up, was so much creepier, because we used to live in a city where a woman did this. She basically suffocated her 3 children and thought she was doing right, and the husband and everything was basically like, no, put her in an institution, she's nuts. It's postpartum depression. But this shit happens. Like, and it's way more scary to me than like the, I'm gonna run around with an axe and just hack you to death versus like, no, come kids, tea party time.
Yeah, you're
with
helping
the poison
them. You're leading to a better place. It's kind of cultish.
Way more
in your own mind.
Yeah,
it's like a cult of your own
way more
mind.
psychological and way more scary to me because that shit happens all the time. Way more than 40 whacks with the wet noodle. Like, those are the ones that get the headlines, but people killing their kids and just or postpartum depression or like the weirdness that go, like, that's real. Like, and like that whole kind of where it was going near the end, I'm just like, this is just way creepy. This is like everything that those type of stories do turned up to 11. And particularly, did you notice in The Flapper, her character, they did this weird color effect where in the old days used to have like our aunts and uncles have one from when they were
sort
kids.
of the light brown.
Yeah, it's not sepia tone. It's actually, they take black and white pictures and then they color them in with like pastels or paints.
Yeah.
And so everything looks pastel. They did that with her, and I'm just like, this is really unnerving. The corpse shit didn't like, she's like, I'm a corpse now, who's scared? I was like, could have cared less about that. That was bullshit. But when they had her in just that weird pastel tone, like she was an old photograph, and the whole room had that kind of old photograph feel, and the way just you couldn't really tell what was really like, everything just was starting to blend. And like her whole mind was turning into this nightmare realm until at the very end she's just like, no, this is the dream. I'll wake them up. Like, it just, I'm just like, this is a mindfuck. This is Satoshi Kon shit. Like that magical realism. What's real? What's a dream?
Well, this guy does this a lot. This director will have stuff happening,
like
in the present, in the past, and they're constantly being haunted by the past, and you don't know if they're real or if they're, in the person's mind. Oculus, a lot of that too about the past, and not being able to control your body, which I love how both this and The Haunting really, I guess in some respects, Gerald's Game too, where you don't have control over your body. And you're doing stuff that, your mind, or even just
when Nell's husband dies and she's just sitting there, I was like, oh my god, once again, this is just nightmarish.
Well, even the mother, when she, she has this whole fantasy, and she wakes up and she's holding a screwdriver to her husband, and just the idea of not having control, not being aware of what you're doing, is so terrifying. It's such a creepy idea, and a lot of his movies
the best scares
in
in it are like that. Another best scare was not he's chasing after his wife in the hallway. That didn't get me much, but what got me is when the kids started screaming bloody murder downstairs, and he's upstairs, and the lights are out, and he has to run as fast as he can.
You follow him with it,
That's primordial terror. Like, those are the best scenes in there, where it's just like, and then you get other scenes with like, there were so many scenes where I just wanted to just yell, cut! Just cut, like the floating man. What an awesome idea. What a great effect. In the hallway,
goes too far,
in the hallway, I thought it was pretty cool. It's like, you see a lot, but I'm like, no, it's still cool. Luke goes under the bed. I'm like, okay, and then you see the feet. The feet come in. And the cane, I'm like, this is brilliant. And I'm like terrified, and I'm just like, okay, cut. Or I'm like, maybe cut to Luke screaming, cut. Or maybe you just see the bedspread lift a bit, cut. But no, we have to do full CGI hands, face come in, and I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, it does.
Perfect scare ruined.
Before we get into the ending, I just want to say real quick, because we were in the spoiler territory.
Russ Tamblyn as the psychiatrist was a nice touch.
Yes. Again, saying, you're nuts! None of this is real. Which
was his character in the original.
Yeah, exactly.
Until the end.
But some of the scares you might have missed that are in the background. Well, one is in the funeral home. You see Nell a couple times as they're talking, just in the background. Like she's just waiting. Yeah, it is.
There's a weird in Luke and Nell's bedroom when they're kids. I swear there's a dude standing in the corner in a suit.
That could be a poster, but I can't tell.
I couldn't tell.
It could be the tall guy.
But it's pretty brilliant if it's just a poster, because I'm like, it's out of focus. I'm like, I can't tell if that's something just supposed to be in the room, like a poster of a basketball player or something, or...
The episode, I think it's one episode, but the episode focusing on the mother and what she sees, everything from her point of view, there's two great scenes. One is that she goes in the room, she goes in the kids' room, and there's the two statues there, they're facing that way, and she goes in the room, she comes out, the statue is suddenly looking at her, so keep an eye out for that.
That one I missed.
And another one where I literally just went, holy shit, and my wife just went, what? And I'm like, don't you see that? Don't you see? Is that it's in the
You
same...
sound like Hiss from... Did you see it? Did you see it?
is she comes into, it's not the kitchen, or maybe it is the kitchen, and the kids are like eating sandwiches or something like that. I think Mrs. Dudley's there too, and the mother comes in again after seeing something, and just in the reflection there is this ghost of a woman, no eyes, just watching them, and it's just in the background, and the mother comes in, the camera changes angle a little bit so that just the eye...
Probably the bent neck lady then with the no eyes.
I don't know, because her neck wasn't bent or anything, and it
really?
was
Okay.
after. So you just see, like, this eye. So then the camera moves, and you just see the eye still watching him, that little black eye watching him. And I'm just telling my wife, she's still there! She's still... And I rewound it, I showed her to watch!
The Dudleys, by the way, again, like, that's the only thing they get right in every version.
Yeah, somehow
the
the
99
Dudleys
haunting
are
stuff, but the
always
Dudleys
perfect.
were fine. Yeah, I like the Dudleys in this. They're not quite as spooky, but they have more character.
Yeah, there's a little more sympathy and understanding to them, which I'm okay with.
Yeah,
I'm
fine with
they're
that.
still the Dudleys, and I thought it was okay.
The symbolism of... I loved the reoccurring symbolism. One thing we didn't mention yet is the cats. And it didn't hit me until later when the mother was going mad. Yeah, the kittens. Well, the symbolism of the bug coming out, like it's a corpse, and then when the bug comes out of Nell's
The mother
body,
cat abandoning the kitten.
I didn't realize that till later when the mother was going nuts. I'm like, now I get it with the kittens. It's like, well, they can't survive without their mother. I'm like, and now the whole theme ties together. It was foreshadowing, and like, it's brilliant.
Well,
I think it's really
and mistaking
brilliant.
the kitten for still being alive, but it's something
Again, which is a nightmare. Like, this is just horrific. And then you cut to her working on Nell, and there's always this, like, and you keep expecting Nell's eyes to open or something. That scene, by the way, I remember turning to my wife when we were watching that, and I'm like, I'm getting cremated. This is bullshit.
Yeah, no.
If you really want just the bizarreness of the unnatural things we do to the human body after we die, like, watch episode 2. Was it episode 2 of this where she does that?
No, I really think it's later on. It's like
whenever it is, whenever she's working on Nell's body, and it's just like...
I thought it could be 2.
And it's just, I'm just like, I don't get it.
Just
really
burn
don't.
me up, man. Yeah,
I look
burn
at it
me
just
up
like, this is Egyptian. We're just
Big Lebowski
mummifying
me.
ourselves. Yeah, and it really gets into the nitty gritty of what it's like. And I did love that one line though, where it's just like, we haven't done this ourselves. We get into that like, hey, we're going through shit in our family. You can fucking deal by doing us this 1 or 2 favors.
Yeah.
Like, and my favorite line is where she's like, I've got my hands in my sister's chest cavity, removing her organs because that's what happens with an autopsy. So you can go fucking pick Luke up or whatever it was she was asking him to do. And I'm like, that really felt real. Where it's just like, will you do this? We've got shit to deal with.
In a lesser show, I would have said her doing, it being the Undertaker for her, would just be preposterous. That would be so stupid. No sister would do that.
Oh, it made sense with her character.
But it totally made sense, not only with her character, but I could almost see any of them that had the occupation doing that because they didn't know what was real. And especially when it came to the dead, and this is something where you would look down and be like, no, I'm doing this so that I can see bit by bit, this person is gone. Like, this is almost her closure.
Well, and it was her, she was the one with the kittens, right?
I thought that was Theo.
Was it Theo?
I could be wrong.
No, I think it was Cheryl because I thought that's how it all tied together was, and the mother even says, well, that's a shame that that's her first experience with death. It's like you can see, I thought that was the idea. You could see it.
You might be right.
You could see it beginning there, like looking at the kitten's body.
You're
like,
right, you're right.
First experience with corpse. And then, well, the bug comes out of Nell's mouth, so that has to be...
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
Yeah, so it's like you could see how she became a mortician after that. Like,
yeah,
one thing led to the other.
Yeah. I think we should, especially with how much battery... Well, we got a little bit, but still, let's talk about the ending, man. Let's just do it.
So with this...
You warned me, man. You tried to warn me.
I did warn you. I did warn you ahead of time.
I'm like, I don't know, it seems pretty good.
I'll tell you what this is. There was this football game, like, it was Michigan, it's a college football game, Michigan versus the other Michigan State. And they're big rivals. This is a big thing, so if you're like a European soccer fan or whatever, imagine 2 big rivals, and at the very end, all Michigan needed to do was kick the ball away. And they had won. They were points ahead and this and that, and the area was ready to go home, and there were like 5 seconds left or something crazy. And yeah, they blew it somehow. The
other team got it. Went over.
The kicker missed or something, and there was chaos. The other team came, scored,
won the game,
And there was this shot to the crowd. And there was this one kid. I'll send you the pictures. Put it up. I'll tell you what. Put it up right now. That shot right there. It's called the surrender cobra. That's what they call it. And that look, basically that is when all life has been snuffed out of the universe. That is when all hope has been bludgeoned to death right before your eyes. Just look at his face. That look just says, I don't know what the hell I just saw. I can't even comprehend it. But I don't like it. Okay, so we take the picture down. Why am I telling you this? Because that was the exact look on my face for the entire last episode. I had my arms over my head, my jaw was hitting the ground, my eyes were open, and I was just going, what the fuck? And let me just preface this. I'm Michigan State. I don't care. I'm just using that as an example. You may use your own example of that moment. I'm from Chicago. This happens all the time. The Cubs had 100 years of doing this to recently. The Sox, the Bulls, the Bears, whatever. Cleveland knows because of their experience with the Cubs. Whatever team you like, Europe, across the world, or playing board games, video games, whatever, that moment in your life where everything seems to be going right and you're like, I've won! I've got it, I've got it, I've got it. And then all of a sudden, sucker punch! That was the ending to The Haunting. So post your own in the comments if you have an example. This was AI. It AI'd it.
It reminded me a lot of AI, to a point I think I was even texting you AI quotes.
We said the same. No, that's what kills
David never had a birthday party.
So I sat there when they're doing the birthday cake thing. I literally sat there on my couch. I said, but David never had a birthday. And then when you were watching it, you texted me, but David never had a birthday. And I'm like, oh my God, we think alike.
Well, what's so funny about this really bad ending is it starts off super fan fiction-y. And then it's like the character's with his wife, the wife is pregnant, they're back together, everything's fine, and he's writing his next book, it's bright out, and immediately like, well, I don't like this, and then they do the real dirty trick of saying, no, it's not gonna be that easy, we're not doing that, we gotcha. And then they did it at the end! That's exactly what they did! They were saying, no, you're not getting out that easily. This is the dark, gritty, adult shit, and it's gonna be hard to get through. And then it's like, no, they did give us that shitty ending at the end.
To quote The Godfather, it insults my intelligence. And it insults the intelligence of the director, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what made him do this.
So pretty much what, I mean, you've probably seen it.
And here's the thing, I've been talking about this to a couple friends who are also critics. And one who still likes the show, and I'm on the fence now about whether I love the show overall now, because the ending wrecks so much of it for me, but
I still really like it.
There are three, it's like a 1, 2, 3 punch. And had it only gone with one of these things, I might have been able to overlook it. Yeah. But it just builds and builds. The first
it gets worse and
is
worse.
The most unnecessary goddamn twist of, oh no, they killed the Dudley's kid. What? What?
That whole thing was stupid.
Have we seen this kid before, even?
No, I mean, you did. She came out of nowhere. And was with the tea party, and because the boy would say she's real.
But they did this, but they did this weird thing where it's like,
it's just
is she real or is she a ghost? It's like, no, she was real, and now she's dead. And this leads to, as if it couldn't be bad enough that the father just walks in and sees, after finding out there's poison, and then stops them right before they sip it. But no, we had to do this because, like, that's what kills me. It's like the actual reality is bad enough. You didn't need an extra twist. That's awful. She's gonna fucking kill her children.
But Rob, it's okay. The Dudleys aren't gonna tell anybody.
Yeah. So you do that.
So stupid.
The kid dies, and that's where I lost my shit. The Dudleys come in, and he's like, I'm burning this house to the ground. No, you can't, because our ghost child is here. So
like, fucking what?
And then the payoff with the Dudleys apparently is he brings Mrs. Dudley back at the end. We made it. here, now we die here. I'm just like, I would never want to go back to that goddamn place.
She's got like her ghost baby there too, and I'm just like, well, where was that ghost baby? What that ghost look like exactly? And okay, you don't want to burn down this house. This house has claimed so many people. This house you won't go to in the night, in the dark. You won't go back to it, but your kid is there. So what? They do come back to it now because the kid is there. And
I would.
If they don't burn it,
I would fucking hire an exorcist to move their ghost child on, and then say, hopefully we will meet in heaven. Because I'm not meeting in this house.
Isn't that ghost child trapped there with all the other creepy ass ghosts that are like terrible, doing horrible things? Would you want to burn that so the ghost can move on to whatever the afterlife is?
If they made it creepy, I would have been like, okay, but they just treat it like it's some happy ending.
Heartfelt. Yeah, she's here.
So that's pointless twist number one. For what was something that we all knew, like basically what I thought they were
about. Yeah. Who gives a shit?
What they were setting up and what I thought was going to happen is Dad killed Mom because Mom went nuts, which is fine. And you could be like, well, that's predictable. So what? That's what everything's leading to, and if you execute it right, it's a horrible, tragic story, and Dad never got over it, and it like makes sense why he would want to hide it from the cops. Like maybe he didn't do it in cold blood, maybe it was self-defense. But that would have made sense.
Twist 2. The room is also the treehouse and the game room and the... Who cares? Why is that a big shock?
I don't know.
What does that... Oh, it's about interpreting things and seeing them as different. But it's not even that scary.
Twist 3 isn't even a twist. It's a happy ending. Like, it was about redemption, and Luke never had a birthday, and now they get to say that's the only, okay, I will say this. I did like, because of how relentless this show is and how fucking full of gloom it is. I get his need, the director's need to have, like, a catharsis of some sort.
But not this.
But not this. Yeah, so the idea that they apologized to Nell for not believing her, that was necessary. I think in any version that needs to be in there. But the way they handled it, and the way... God! The way Nell just, like, recites Doctor Who lines like, I always thought time was linear, but it's a wibbly-wobbly thing, and here's how the house works, and blah, blah, blah. It's like a giant TARDIS. And I'm like, what? What? Stop explaining things. You've taken out all the spooky shit. All of it.
No, even the writing is different because it goes from people talking, and sometimes giving monologues, but opening us to just speech after speech after speech. Everyone is giving a damn speech about the meaning of life in this, and that's not how they talk.
They all give a damn speech about the meaning of life.
And they're all optimistic and positive and nice.
Nell and Mommy and Daddy walk off together into the light, and then everybody's all, like, the family's fixed now as if this wasn't the worst traumatic horse shit that they're probably gonna take decades to get over still. And then
Luke's alive! That lie, you fucking liars!
Luke's
like,
alive.
You're seeing all the dead bodies and then like, no, he died, but he came back. Oh, we whatever, CPR'd him back to life. And it's like, why were we seeing that ghost from the future then, you fucking liars?
Here's the thing. That didn't bother me if the idea is that all this happens and they have to somehow save Luke. I'm like, okay, there's your kind of little out of like, we need a little...
there is no out! No. You can't escape it! That's the haunting! You can't escape it! That's what's so creepy about the haunting!
I don't entirely disagree, but there's a middle ground, which is I think they can bring Luke back, but also make it creepy. But the thing is, that final line where I literally went, but we who walk here...
Oh, fuck!
Walk together!
Fuck that line! Fuck that line! Because I'm already watching this getting more and more angry as this is going on, and then just when that final line hit with the nice music, the little guitar going, and everyone's on Hill House, and he says all the lines, you know, darkness laid against the wood of Hill House, but it's done in a nice, soothing little way. Oh, it's so comforting. I'm already so angry because these words do not belong, and then they change just the line of the haunting, and those who walk there walk alone, and they change it to and the final line of the haunting is and we who walk here walk alone. So creepy. The haunting got it, and it's and we who walk here walk together. I got so fucking angry. Yeah, wait, you gotta show them what
I'll just send this as a screenshot, but actual evidence of what our conversation was.
I
We'll
literally
throw that up
just
screen.
Yeah,
while
I
you're-
just said we walked together. We walked together. Are you fucked? I was so angry because it's like it's like a real haunting. It's a slow burn. It starts off just kind of dumb, and then you're not aware it's getting kind of worse and worse and dumber and just totally missing what the fuck it was doing.
The critical mistake of The Shining, which is redemption stories aren't scary. They never will be scary, and if you hinge too much of it on the redemption part, and there's a happy ending, you have sucked all the scares out of it in the beginning. This is a problem I have loosely with The Sixth Sense, which I think tells you early enough what's going on that it's okay. Because you watch it again, and it's not scary. Because it's like, okay, you know what's going on, and it's about the psychological.
It's that is not what they're. Too. It's emotional, and it works.
That is not what they are setting up here, and that is not what they are doing. And that is the problem with it. This should have had an ending more like the others, which is, in my opinion, the better Sixth Sense, which has an ending that's dark as hell, much like the original Haunting has an ending that's dark as hell.
But there is still some release. There is still some comfort, even though it's still a dark, creepy, unsettling ending.
That one knew how to toe the line and get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
so,
that could do it. If they did something like the others, I think you would have a little bit of your levity, a little bit of something nice, and it would still be creepy.
All right, let's do this. Let's fix the movie.
Oh, that's good. Okay, do your Cliff Note version. Did you do the...
Okay, first off, none of that shit with the Dudleys. Like, and the Dudley's kid dying. I say instead...
Yeah, they already lost one kid. Don't throw in another one.
Yeah, I say instead, like, he kills her, maybe in self-defense. Maybe the Dudleys have a reason for not wanting it to be burnt down. Maybe instead of a baby that died there, one of their kids died there, and their kid was old enough.
Maybe they just can't. Something happens, like Oculus.
Or they see a ghost like that, and they're like, don't burn it down, and then they agree they'll testify on Crane's behalf and say that, no, she was already dead, they saw it, he didn't kill her, because they know she was crazy too. Boom! That problem solved. Part 2. Instead, they all fall asleep. They all have their different visions and stuff. I didn't mind that. I thought when it was going that route, I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, like, that's okay. And even having it in that room that's always sealed off, it's like, okay, which, by the way, that room, it's not scary.
They all have a vision, and they're in that one room, and instead of Nell fucking telling them everything, maybe they put it together like, can't you feel it? Like, the heartbeat, like, this is the heart of the house or something. Just throw out a couple ideas about it. And then they see Nell, and Luke's there dying, and they all apologize to Nell. Nell can't speak. Nell doesn't say anything.
Yeah, she's still... that'd be great. If she was still bent and still kind of creepy,
I don't even need that. I don't even need that.
Oh, I do. I think that'd be like so much sadder.
I don't need that. You know what? I don't even need that. I could see her just as normal Nell, but like, have that. I love that bit where Luke's just like, I can't go on without you. I can't do this. Have her whisper something to Luke. Then they all wake up, and then they leave. And then they talk about it after the fact, and they're all like, yeah, well, we all had different dreams, blah, 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 so this and that. But they all realize, like, something out of Explorers, but wait a second. We all had kind of the same ending to our dream. Isn't that weird? So did they dream it? Or was it really real? Or were the ghosts real? Who really fucking knows? But then at the end, I would have Cheryl, the fucking mortician, going like, you know, because maybe Steve's like, well, I mean, it's happy because Nell, it seems like Nell moved on and maybe their dad died or whatever, moved on. It's like, but maybe she could be like, yeah, but where will we go? He's like, what do you mean? We're all right here. Yeah, but
when we die,
where do we go? What was it Nell said to Luke? And Nell tells Luke, you know, like, or they reveal that we always need to stick together. Ton, ton, ton! So are they going to go back to the house? Is this their doom? Or are they going to move, like, then you have that final line, walks together. And it's like,
it's not an upbeat, nice, emotional.
No,
it's
no,
like, ugh, like that's kind of...
So you have the one out where it's just like, okay, maybe they'll be happy, but
they're
maybe
like
they'll also
together.
be... yeah,
but they're also cursed.
But they're also cursed to be stuck at this house. Who knows? Or maybe they'll go all move on. Like, you don't know. Instead of just fucking spelling everything out like we're fucking 2 years old.
Well, that's your thing,
I say like a toddler just going like this.
Well, that's the thing, too. It spells out yeah, the ghosts were real. It was all there. It was
which is
all,
the exact opposite of what the original did.
Yeah. Well, and it just goes against what the show was doing in general. Even if you were to take away this is based on The Haunting, which in some respects is kind of easy to do because it is so different. But if you were to take that,
it just feels
that connection away, it doesn't feel like what the rest of the show was doing. The rest of the show is so heavy and so dark and so adult and so harsh and difficult and challenging.
You go for bittersweet, and it was just sweet.
Yeah,
you can't
it was just
do
straight
that.
up sweet.
You just can't.
Yeah, and like I said, it's one of those where it was a slow burn. It was like sort of pissing me off more and more because I didn't start off immediately hating it because it made it look like, oh no, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do the happy ending. We just tricked you. So I'm like, all right, so it's kind of a slow burn. And then it just got worse and worse and worse, and I'm like,
and that is the weird thing for me, which is it is objectively better than the 99 film. Like it doesn't deserve to lick the 99 film shit, but it, in a way,
I think you mean the 99 film doesn't deserve to lick its
shit. The 99 film just is a piece of crap. But in a weird way, I found this more disappointing. In the 99 film, 10 minutes in, you're watching
your crap,
complete, total, flaming dumpster fire garbage trash. This one, to go 9 episodes and just think how amazing this is and then just get garbage thrown in your face, I felt like I got the rug pulled out from under me. It honestly was in a weird way more disappointing. That's where it's so hard to be like, well, do you recommend it? Yes, with an if. No, with a but.
Just like a lot of movies. I mean, you just say, yeah, but the ending sucks. Like, people ask, do you recommend Lost? I'm like, yeah, just keep in mind you're probably not going to get a very satisfactory resolution, but still good characters, it's still good suspense, it's still, a kind of interesting mystery. It's just, but yeah, like, everyone, you're really pissed off at the ending.
It's that football game. Like, yeah. Again, I married into this sick rivalry thing because of my in-laws, but I don't care one way or another. I will say this, though, if you're a Michigan fan, I only bring it up because now you know how I feel. You have my condolences on that one night because I'm like, holy shit.
Well, and I get...
Nothing, I never went to either university, so I don't care. But that is the feeling I had of just...
I get why it was done, because it is giving this levity to something that was so heavy. But I'm with you.
You can't do it like that.
You gotta do
not like that.
Bitter. You either gotta do all dark, no hope, sorry motherfucker, that's life, that's death, or and make that truly scary because that's what we're looking for.
Grave of the Fireflies,
or you do a bittersweet. Actually, even Grave of the Fireflies, to some respect,
that is a bittersweet.
Yeah.
That is a bittersweet ending. The way it ends there is that glimmer of hope, and it's really sweet, and it brings tears to my eyes. It's also a gloomy as fuck movie. Like, they knew how to do both. The Others also knows how to do both.
Yeah.
You can do both, and I get the need. That's why I'm okay with Luke living. I'm like, you don't have to kill everybody. You don't have to, like, you needed something, and that apology to Nell was so needed. Because it felt like everything...
That works.
Yeah, everything was leading to that. And the way she said, nobody listened to me, and this and that. You need that, but to execute it or even... like the ending to AI, I feel like could have been rewritten in such a way where that would work. But to do it like that, where David never had a birthday, like that's where it loses me. I'm like,
even the actors in that scene where they have
they
like
just
the
look
little
like
cake,
like, really?
They just look like, I can't believe we're doing this. Like, just after all the other scenes they shot, just like, is this really how we're fucking ending this?
And I'm sure there'll be somebody making the argument about how, no, it's really secretly super creepy if you really think, but it does not come off that way.
I haven't heard that argument.
Oh, I hear that argument about AI all the time.
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about this new haunting.
No, but even this new haunting, they might be like, well, if you really think about it, it's like just like the ending to AI is really creepy if you think about how it's a bunch of robots who are just wish fulfilling, and I'm just like, yeah, but the way it was executed didn't work. Sorry, does not.
Yeah. So yeah, there it is. As you can tell by how long this video is, we love The Haunting. Adore the shit out of it.
Some of the best horror I've ever seen in this show. I don't know what to tell you though. The ending, I'll probably never come to grips with it. I'll just be like, listen, like, watch it for the first 9 episodes. But if you're like, does it work as a whole? It's like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to say. Like, it's so just threw me for a loop.
It starts off clumsy, totally loses it at the end, but the majority
so it's
of the
Rat
show,
Race.
pretty much, yeah. No, honestly, that's what it is.
I guess
I'm still
that's
gonna
true.
watch Rat Race a million times.
I guess it's true. Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't, at least not yet, I don't have a desire to watch this again because I'm like, it's not scary to me anymore.
I remember it well.
Like the others and other
I might
ghost
watch
stories
episode 6 again at some
are
point.
still scary
again,
to me
just
because
look
the
at
idea
technique.
is so creepy and there's no out. But with the out now, I don't know if it scares me really.
6 I'll
I'm just
probably
like,
watch
I'll be
again
fine. Like
to really analyze how they got the shots, the acting, how
Yeah, I mean,
well
on a technical
they made it
level, I
uncomfortable.
maybe I'll watch if somebody else hasn't seen it because it's always fun. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't have that overriding desire yet because I'm just like, it's all fine. It all works out. Like, what? I'm not scared by that. Like,
Yeah. So, yeah, still... Well, I was going to say still highly recommended, but if you're watching it at this point, you've heard our spoiler. You must have seen the show by now.
go see it. Just be forewarned.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, we love The Haunting. Just had to do a video talking about this show because I'll say this: we didn't think we were gonna get into it because we watched it for like,
and before people,
and then we did get really
before
into
people
it.
thump on me for saying I'm a hater. Up until episode 10, if you went 1 through 9, I honestly thought, and I know you say apples and oranges, but the themes it deals with, on par with the original film. I have no guilt saying that. It does things different. Some of the scares are in your face and shocky, but there's things in the 63 film. I have trouble with some of the inner monologues and stuff, and like, you know, not every film is absolutely, but I was like, I completely on par. So this is not me like, because it's not the original. It's just like, it was so good and so its own thing too, and then just right at the end.
Yeah, we're all about the morbid here, man.
Yeah.
Or if you're gonna have it sweet, have it be bittersweet.
Sauron.
Yeah, that's kind of assholes we are. But that's why we love the original Haunting, because it is such good characters. The scares are mostly psychological, and even in this one, they do manifest. They're mostly done well. They at least match the emotion of what's going on with the characters, even if they don't scare us all the time.
Extremely impressed.
Yeah.
So that's why that disappointment was so palpable because I was so on board.
Yeah, and I'm just glad. I don't know. I'm glad just people are kind of knowing what The Haunting is because all they had was that shitty '99 remake, and it's kind of like
too.
People are going back to seeing the black and white. How's this going to have the black and white one?
I don't regret this coming out, and I hope this leads to more things like it, just with a better ending.
Yeah. So that's about it, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.